Random House Audiobooks presents The Relationship Cure, a 5-step guide for building better connections with family, friends, and lovers. This is Dr. John Gottman. A very fundamental and simple idea has emerged from our research. We have discovered the elementary constituents of closeness between people, and we have learned the basic principle that regulates how relationships work, and also determines a great deal about how conflict between people can be regulated. That basic idea has to do with the way people in mundane moments in everyday life make attempts at emotional communication, and how others around them respond or fail to respond to these attempts. Those everyday moments are not very dramatic. They are easily overlooked, and unfortunately that is their usual fate. Nonetheless, they are very powerful. By becoming aware and mindful of such moments, we can give and receive the intimacy and support we all need from our closest relationships. We can now integrate this basic idea about moments of emotional connection with the 7 basic emotional command systems of the brain. These command systems make it possible for us to see directions and purposes for our emotions. Awareness of the emotions these command systems generate allows us to examine what may be missing in our lives, and also to examine mismatches between our needs and the needs of those who are most important to us. Awareness of our emotions within ourselves and the emotions generated within our closest relationships can provide a natural guide for our search for meaning, and can give us the direction in our lives that we are continually seeking. This program is designed to provide the guidelines and skills for building that awareness. A work team at one of Seattle's floundering internet companies has a problem that's common in many workplaces: a boss they can't communicate with. If you catch a few team members at a local tavern after hours, you're likely to hear an exchange something like this: "Joseph is the coldest fish I've ever worked for." "I know what you mean," another says. "The other day I saw this picture of a little boy on his bulletin board and I said, 'Cute kid, is that your son?' And he goes, 'No.'" "And that was it?" "Yeah, so I'm standing there wondering, who is it then? Your nephew, your stepson, your love child?" He's just so out of it. And to think we were so jazzed when we heard he was going to be the head of the team with that vaunted success record of his. He's smart, all right, but what good has it done us? We still haven't launched the site. Well, that's because he has 0 people skills. Have you noticed how all the other managers try to avoid him? Yeah, that's what's screwing us up. We have no real standing in the company. I was hoping he could take our ideas up the ladder and we finally get the resources we need. But he never asks for our input. He never even asks if you've had a nice weekend. Remember when we moved to that new building and he decided to do away with private offices to enhance communication? What a crock. Oh, stop it, you guys. I feel sorry for him. Sorry for him? Why? He's the one with all the stock options. Well, I think he wants to be a better boss. He just doesn't know how. Oh, yeah? How can you tell? I don't know. It's just a guess. Maybe he knows how disappointed we all feel in him, and that makes it even harder for him. I can't read his mind, but I bet that's what's going on. Now meet Phil and Tina, a couple in their 30s who seem to have it all: solid jobs, 2 beautiful kids, lots of good friends, and they love each other. Trouble is they haven't had sex in 6 months. Seated on a small sofa in the therapist's office, the couple describes how the problem started. Tina's company was going through this big reorganization, Phil explains, and every day she'd come home exhausted. It was a real drag, Tina remembers. I was spending all day in these long, tense meetings, trying to defend people's jobs. When I got home, I couldn't shake the stress. I didn't want to talk to anybody. I felt so anxious. Phil tried to be nice, but I wanted to help her, to tell her it was going to be okay, but I couldn't do anything right. It wasn't like we had this huge catastrophic breakdown or anything. It was more like the little stuff. I'd kiss her on the back of her neck or start to rub her stomach when we were in bed. Things that used to get her attention. But now I was getting nothing in return. Zip. It definitely threw me off balance. And I felt that if I didn't get all hot and bothered the minute he touched me, he was going to be wounded or something, Tina explained. It just made me so tense. Phil got the point. She has all these people leaning on her at work, and then she comes home to this guy who's feeling insecure, who's whining about his needs. It was such a turnoff for her. So to preserve his pride, Phil quit trying. I got tired of rejection, he explains to the therapist. I don't know how long we can go on like this. It's tough to keep putting yourself out there only to be shut down all the time. Sure, I love her, but sometimes I'm afraid we're not going to make it. It's not working for me either, Tina says through tears. Then after a long silence, she adds, I miss making love too. I miss the way it used to be. Well, maybe that's a place to start, Phil says quietly. 'Cause you never told me that before. You never gave me that information. Phil couldn't have said it better. When people are struggling to save a marriage, to cooperate in a family crisis, or build rapport with a difficult boss, they usually have one thing in common. They need to share emotional information that can help them feel connected. The disgruntled workers at the Seattle Internet Company need to know that their boss shares their dream of launching a successful site. They need to know that he appreciates their work and ideas. But when they turn to him for this emotional information, he fails to respond. In fact, he can't even react sociably to their attempts at friendly conversation. He doesn't inspire confidence that they'll be able to achieve their goal. As a result, the team members feel demoralized, and they doubt whether they can make the launch. Phil and Tina are like many couples I see in marital therapy. Whatever conflicts the couples may have, sex, money, housework, kids, all of them long for evidence that their spouses understand and care about what they're feeling. Sharing such information through words and behavior is essential for improving any significant relationship. This includes bonds with our kids, our siblings, our friends, our coworkers. But even our best efforts to connect can be jeopardized as a result of one basic problem: failure to master what I call the bid, the fundamental unit of emotional communication. This audiobook will show you 5 steps you can take to achieve this mastery and make your relationships work. Number 1, analyze the way you bid and the way you respond to others' bids. Number 2, discover how your brain's emotional command system affect your bidding process. Number 3, examine how your emotional heritage impacts your ability to connect with others and your style of bidding. Number 4, develop your emotional communication skills. Number 5, find shared meaning with others. But first, let's make sure you understand what I mean when I talk about bids. A bid can be a question, a gesture, a look, a touch, any single expression that says, I want to feel connected to you. A response to a bid is just that, a positive or negative answer to somebody's request for emotional connection. At the University of Washington, my research colleagues and I recently discovered how profoundly this bidding process affects relationships. We learned, for example, that husbands headed for divorce disregard their wives' bid for connection 82% of the time, while husbands in stable relationships disregard their wife's bid just 19% of the time. Wives headed for divorce act preoccupied with other activities when their husbands bid for their attention 50% of the time, while happily married wives act preoccupied in response to their husbands' bids just 14% of the time. When we compared how often couples in the two groups extended bids and responded to them, we found another significant difference. During a typical dinner hour conversation, the happily married people engaged one another as many as 100 times in 10 minutes. Those headed for divorce engaged only 65 times in that same period. On the surface, the contrast may seem inconsequential, but taken together over a year, the additional moments of connection among happy couples would be enough to fill a Russian novel. We also found that this high rate of positive engagement paid off in tremendous ways. For example, we now know that people who react positively to one another's bids have greater access to expressions of humor, affection, and interest during arguments. It's almost as if all the good feelings they've accumulated by responding respectfully and lovingly to one another's bids form a pot of emotional money in the bank. Then when a conflict arises, they can draw on this reservoir of good feeling. It's as if something inside unconsciously says, I may be mad as hell.
Sample complete. Ready to continue?